Hello, everyone, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, Jack gives his mother a beautiful new home, then prepares a romantic surprise that Tu Tien will never forget. After standing beside him through every hardship, will she finally receive the promise and official place in his life she has waited so long for? Stay with us until the end, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next chapter. The peaceful countryside slowly awakened beneath the gentle light of early morning. A thin layer of mist still rested over the garden, while birds called from the trees surrounding the house. Tu Tien and Jack's mother were already outside, carefully gathering the dried bamboo shoots that had been spread beneath a wooden shelter. The older woman checked each piece before placing it into a woven basket, while Tu Tien neatly tied the finished bundles together. Inside the house, Jack woke to the quiet sounds of their work. He washed his face, stepped onto the porch, and smiled at the familiar scene. Before joining them, he took out his phone and called Uncle Dung. "Is everything ready at the new house?" Jack asked. Uncle Dung confirmed that the final cleaning had been completed and that the furniture was already in place. They agreed to bring Jack's mother to the property later that afternoon. Jack ended the call without revealing anything to her, since they still had several hours before leaving. Jack suggested helping Tu Tien harvest the ripe melons from their garden. He lifted a woven basket onto his back, and the two walked toward the field together. Golden melons rested beneath the green leaves, filling the air with a light, sweet fragrance. Tu Tien carefully checked each fruit, while Jack cut the ripe ones from the vines and placed them into the basket. They later transported the harvest to the village market. The market was already lively, with vendors selling vegetables, fruit, household goods, and freshly prepared food. Tu Tien arranged the melons neatly on a simple wooden stall, while Jack invited customers to taste a freshly cut sample. The sweet flavor quickly attracted attention. One customer bought 2 melons, another returned with a friend, and within a short time, almost the entire harvest had been sold. After subtracting their small expenses, they had earned more than 100,000 ong in profit. Tu Tien smiled as she counted the money. "It isn't much," she said, "but it came from our own work." Jack nodded proudly. Before leaving, he selected the 2 ripest and most beautiful melons. "These are for Mom," he said. "Today should be special for her." Their morning had been simple, just farm work, friendly customers, and honest earnings. Yet for Jack and Tu Tien, those ordinary moments carried a kind of happiness money could never replace. After returning from the market, Jack placed the 2 melons in the kitchen, while Tu Tien began preparing lunch. His mother sat on the porch with a warm cup of tea. Jack joined her, pouring another cup for himself before sitting nearby. For a while, they spoke about ordinary matters: the melon harvest, the market, and the changing weather. Then his mother looked toward the kitchen, where Tu Tien was quietly working. Her expression softened. "That girl has worked very hard for this family," she said. Jack followed her gaze. His mother continued, "She has never treated me like someone outside her life. She cares for me, listens to me, and worries whenever I am tired. In my heart, I already see her as my own daughter." Jack remained silent for a moment. Those words touched a concern he had been carrying for a long time. "Mom," he said, "there is something I have been thinking about." She turned toward him. "Tu Tien has stayed beside me through the most difficult years of my life. She remained when I lost everything. She helped me rebuild the farm, supported my company, and never once demanded anything in return." His voice became more serious. "But after everything she has sacrificed, I still haven't given her an official place in my life." His mother understood immediately. "You mean marriage?" Jack nodded. "I don't want her to remain beside me without legal recognition or a clear promise for the future. She deserves more than words. She deserves the security of knowing that I have chosen her completely." His mother's eyes filled with emotion. "That is what I have been waiting to hear." She placed her cup down and held Jack's hand. "Tu Tien does not need a grand wedding to prove her love, but as a man, you should give her the respect and certainty she deserves. Do not let someone who has given you her entire heart continue waiting." Jack looked toward the kitchen again. "I want to propose to her properly. Then I want us to register our marriage as soon as possible." His mother smiled through gathering tears. "Then don't delay. Happiness should never be postponed when two people already know where their hearts belong." Jack's decision became clear in that moment. Before the day ended, he would begin preparing a surprise for Tu Tien that would finally give her the place in his life she had earned through years of loyalty, patience, and unconditional love. In the early afternoon, Jack told his mother that he and Tu Tien wanted to take her somewhere. She asked where they were going, but both of them refused to reveal the answer. The car left the village road and traveled toward the family farm. After passing rows of fruit trees and green fields, they arrived at a peaceful garden property surrounded by flowers and mature trees. At the center stood a newly completed house measuring approximately 80 square meters. It had bright windows, a covered porch, and a small garden path leading toward the front entrance. Uncle Dung was waiting beside the gate. "Welcome home," he said warmly. Jack's mother looked at him in confusion. "Whose home is this?" Jack and Tu Tien exchanged a smile. They guided her inside. The living room was simple but comfortable. Fresh curtains framed the windows. New furniture had been arranged carefully, and several family photographs decorated the walls. From the bedroom window, she could see the trees and farmland stretching into the distance. Her eyes slowly filled with tears. Jack reached into a document bag and removed a folder. Holding it respectfully with both hands, he offered it to his mother. "These are the ownership papers," he said. "The house belongs to you." She stared at him in disbelief. "Jack, I cannot accept something this valuable." Jack shook his head. "This is not only from me, it is from Tu Tien as well." Tu Tien stepped closer and held the older woman's hand. "You spent your life taking care of your family," she said. "Now we want you to have a peaceful place of your own, surrounded by people who love you." Jack explained that the house was close enough for them to visit every day. Uncle Dung would also be nearby, ensuring that she would never feel isolated. His mother pressed the documents against her chest as tears rolled down her face. "I never thought I would have a home like this," she whispered. Jack embraced her. "You gave me everything when I had nothing. This house can never repay that, but I hope it shows how grateful we are." Soon the quiet property filled with laughter. The family prepared a small housewarming celebration with home-cooked dishes, fresh fruit, and the 2 sweet melons saved from the market. Uncle Dung opened the windows, Tu Tien arranged flowers, and Jack jokingly claimed he had personally supervised every detail. For Jack's mother, the new house represented more than comfort. It was proof that after years of sacrifice, she had finally reached a peaceful chapter surrounded by love, respect, and family. After the housewarming celebration, Jack and Tu Tien returned to their own home. Tu Tien was tired but happy. She spoke warmly about Jack's mother and how emotional she had been upon receiving the house. Later that evening, Tu Tien announced that she needed to visit the night market to purchase several household items. The moment she left, Jack began carrying out the plan he had quietly formed during his conversation with his mother. He drove to the largest jewelry store in town. Inside the brightly lit showroom, rows of rings sparkled beneath the glass displays. The salesperson presented several expensive designs, but Jack did not choose the largest ring. He wanted something elegant, meaningful, and suitable for Tu Tien's gentle personality. After comparing several options, he selected a platinum ring set with a carefully cut diamond. Its design was refined rather than excessive, and the stone reflected the light with a quiet brilliance. Jack held the small red velvet box in his hand. For a man who had negotiated major business contracts without hesitation, he suddenly felt unusually nervous. "This is the one," he said. He returned home quickly and began transforming the dining area. He covered the table with a clean cloth, placed fresh flowers in a glass vase, and arranged several scented candles around the room. He prepared Tu Tien's favorite dishes, opened a bottle of red wine, and selected soft instrumental music. Jack checked every detail repeatedly. He adjusted the position of the plates, moved the candles, tested the music, and opened the ring box several times to make sure everything was perfect. The house gradually became warm and romantic beneath the soft candlelight. Yet beneath Jack's careful preparation was something deeper than an elegant dinner. He was preparing to ask the woman who had stood beside him through poverty, danger, and disappointment to share the rest of her life with him. As he heard a vehicle approaching outside, Jack placed the velvet box inside his jacket pocket. The lights were dimmed. The candles flickered, and for the first time that evening Jack realized his hands were trembling. Tu Tien returned from the night market feeling exhausted. She carried several bags toward the front door, expecting to find the house quiet. But the moment she entered, she stopped completely. Soft instrumental music filled the room. Fresh flowers stood in the center of the dining table, surrounded by glowing candles. Her favorite dishes had been arranged carefully beside 2 glasses of red wine. Jack stood nearby in a clean shirt, watching her with a nervous smile. Tu Tien looked around in disbelief. "What is all this?" Jack approached her and gently took the bags from her hands. "You have spent so much time taking care of everyone else," he said. "Tonight I wanted to take care of you." He held her hand and guided her toward the table. Tu Tien's exhaustion disappeared beneath growing surprise and emotion. Jack did not immediately begin dinner. Instead, he remained standing in front of her, holding both of her hands. "There is something I should have done a long time ago," he said. Tu Tien's expression changed as she sensed the seriousness in his voice. Jack spoke about the years they had shared, the days when they had very little food, the storms they had survived, the misunderstandings that nearly separated them, and the moments when Tu Tien's faith had given him the courage to continue. "You stayed when I had nothing to offer," he said. "You believed in me when I had stopped believing in myself." His voice grew emotional. "I cannot change the difficult years you experienced because of me, but I can promise that from this day forward, you will never have to question your place in my life." Jack slowly lowered himself onto one knee. Tu Tien immediately covered her mouth. He removed the red velvet box from his jacket and opened it, revealing the platinum diamond ring. "Tu Tien," he said, looking directly into her tear-filled eyes, "will you marry me and allow me to spend the rest of my life honoring the love you have given me?" For several seconds she could not speak. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she looked from the ring to Jack's face. Then she began nodding repeatedly. "Yes," she whispered. Jack remained still, overwhelmed with relief. Tu Tien laughed through her tears. "Yes, Jack, I will marry you." The emotional answer filled the room with a happiness neither of them could fully express in words. Jack rose slowly, still holding Tu Tien's hand. He removed the ring from the velvet box and carefully placed it onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Tu Tien looked down at the diamond shining beneath the candlelight, then back at Jack. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Jack smiled. "But not as beautiful as the woman wearing it." She laughed softly before wrapping her arms around him. They shared a gentle kiss beneath the warm glow of the candles. It was not only a celebration of their engagement. It carried every apology, sacrifice, and promise they had struggled to express throughout their difficult journey. When they finally sat at the table, Jack poured 2 glasses of red wine. They raised their glasses. "To our future," he said. Tu Tien smiled. "To the family we will continue building together." During dinner, they spoke openly about the next step. Jack told her he did not want to delay their legal marriage registration. He believed their relationship should be recognized officially, not because a document could define their love, but because he wanted to give her the protection and respect of becoming his legal wife. Tu Tien agreed. She admitted that she had never wanted to pressure him, but there had been moments when she quietly wondered whether their relationship would ever receive a clear name. Jack took her hand. "I'm sorry I made you wait." Tu Tien shook her head. "What matters is that we reached this moment together." They decided to visit the local People's Committee office the following morning and complete the marriage registration. They also spoke about holding a proper wedding ceremony in the future, surrounded by Jack's mother, Uncle Dung, their friends, and everyone who had supported them. The candles slowly burned lower as they continued discussing their plans. There would still be challenges ahead. Their life would never be completely free from hardship, but now they were moving forward with the certainty that neither of them would ever have to face those challenges alone. The following morning arrived beneath bright golden sunlight. Jack dressed in a clean white shirt and dark trousers. Tu Tien wore a modern pale pink dye that highlighted her graceful appearance while preserving the elegance of Vietnamese tradition. When Jack saw her step from the bedroom, he remained silent for several seconds. Tu Tien smiled shyly. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Because I am trying to understand how I became this fortunate." Together they traveled to the local People's Committee office. Although the building was modest and the process was simple, both of them felt the significance of every step. They submitted their identification documents and completed the required forms beneath the guidance of the civil status officer. When the final declaration was placed before them, Jack looked at Tu Tien. "Are you ready?" She smiled. "I have been ready for a long time." Jack signed first. Tu Tien then placed her signature beside his, officially confirming their decision to become husband and wife under the law. The officer reviewed the documents before presenting them with the red marriage certificate. "Congratulations," she said. "From today, you are legally married." Tu Tien held the certificate with both hands. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked at Jack. The paper itself was simple, but it represented recognition, commitment, and the beginning of a new chapter they had fought hard to reach. Jack gently pulled her into an embrace. For years, Tu Tien had remained beside him without demanding a title, property, or promise. She had loved him through uncertainty and believed in their future even when nothing was guaranteed. Now, standing beneath the bright morning light, she was no longer only the woman who had shared Jack's hardships. She was officially his wife. Jack kissed her forehead. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. Tu Tien looked at the red certificate and then into his eyes. "No," she said with a joyful smile. "This is the beginning we have been building toward all along." Hand in hand, they walked out of the office and into the sunlight. Behind them was a long road of sacrifice. Ahead of them was a life they would finally enter together as husband and wife.